Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. Today we have another solo game of 1914 set up and raring to go. And as I like to do when I play solo, I like to pick a stratagem that I will use for the central powers. The misnomer of Axis, of course, is about 20 years too soon, I think, 25 years too soon. So we're going to just leave it as the central powers. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to do what was attempted back in 14. And we'll see how that works out. Plus, I'm adding my house rule of Italy being neutral, and we're going to add another wrinkle to that. So Italy stayed neutral, actually, for the first year of the war, essentially. And then the entire war, they were pretty inactive in any place other than their own border with Austria-Hungary. So to mimic that a little bit, and hopefully not ruin the gameplay, is we are going to have a die roll. And the die roll will decide whether or not they enter the war. And that'll happen at the beginning of their turn each round. Now, the first round they are neutral. They're not allowed to attack anyone. They're not allowed to be attacked. And they only get $7, so half their national income. And so they'll get 7 IPCs on the first round and build with that. But at the beginning of their turn, they'll roll, and it'll let them know if next round, maybe we'll do it at the end of the Italian turn, we'll roll and see if they're going to enter the war next round. And if so, then they'll collect their full $14 and off we go. But if they fail, they'll collect $7 again and stay out of the war. And I am just working on this myself here, so you know, any thoughts you may have on it is fine. I'm thinking of a bit of a graduated dice roll for them, where they have to roll a 5 or a 6 to join the war, and then as each turn goes, that number decreases to 4. You know, to get in on round 3 would be a 4, 5, or 6. Round 4 would be a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So they could stay out of the war for a while, or they could be in on round 2. I'm just going to try that out today. We'll see how it works. I know that one game does not a rule make, but I'm going to see if it works out at all. What I'm anticipating is that they'll come in on round 3 or 4, and by then they'll have a decent army built up, and Austria-Hungary will have to dedicate some troops to their border. And the problem for Austria-Hungary is they have 2 border territories, right? Trieste and Tyrolia, versus the Italian only needing 1 in Venice. So we're going to see if this helps or hurts the Central Powers not having to fight Italy. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, when Italy joins, they'll join at the end of their turn, which means the following round, if they're in, Austria-Hungary can initiate the conflict against them. So we'll just see how that works today. We are to balance that, we're not going to play with the Russian Revolution rule. Moscow will have to be taken, and so that hopefully will balance it out a little bit. As we know, Central Powers have a whale of a time trying to win this game. They've won a couple in my solo gameplay. But typically they lose. They just run out of steam. Trying to get into Paris is just like bashing your face against a wall. And we'll see how that goes. Britain, down here in England, is going to be limited to 5 constructs per turn. Okay, 5 constructs per turn, which is someone's house rule. Out of box, they can build whatever they want here, as many as they want, just no ships. Because there's no port, of course. And so we're going to limit it to 5 units that they can build of any variety of ground or air. And the last note is going to be... What was my last note going to be? I forget what my last note was going to be. Must have been a lie. All right. That is... Oh! I was going to tell you the overall stratagem is going to be... for Germany, they're just going to do a holding action versus the Russians. capture Poland and then maybe go after some of these if the opportunity arises. And Austria-Hungary is going to join in on that. They're going to have a push against Russia in the south and maybe help out in Poland right off the bat here. We'll see. And we'll see if that can turn into a victory versus the Entente. All right, so waiting for it. Here we go. We're going to start right away. We'll let you know how round one goes, and we'll see if Italy's going to be in the war round two. All right, round two is about to begin, and yeah, we'll see how round one went. British got pretty aggressive over here, likely to their demise, but took Transjordan and took Arabia. Got some free stuff in Arabia. Only took 2 hits in Transjordan and wiped out the Turkish contingent. But the Turks, instead of throwing units at them, hoping to dislodge them, bulked up. And of course, Britain's going to have trouble matching what they have there. So it might be a retreat option for the British this next round. Africa, the very typical stuff went on. The Germans took their 4. The British came and took a couple from Germany. French are coming down on the transports. Of course, took Portugal for some free units and free money. Oh, we didn't do the Italian roll. Boy, all these new rules that I'm doing. All right, so here's the Italian roll. If they get a 5 or a 6, they are in the war next round. They got a 4, so they're only going to get $7 to spend this round. And you'll notice nothing got spent in Rome. I actually saved Italy's money this round. So yeah, they're not in this round and or next round. So Austria-Hungary, knowing that the Italians may not be a big threat this round, decided to punch out. And boy, they had some real good success. They took Albania, only lost a couple guys. Took Serbia, only lost 1 guy. Romania was a tougher fight, and they didn't actually win it. The Russians withdrew. They only had 1 man, 1 artillery left, so they withdrew to Sevastopol and Ukraine. And yeah, that's what they did there. So the Austro-Hungarians and the Germans have a lot of stuff on the border, but so do the Russians. The Russians bulked up a lot, and I kind of am in a habit of purchasing an aircraft for Russia and then stacking the artillery and hoping I can make use of that at some point for the Russians. As you know, with aircraft-supported artillery, they attack at a 4. So that's it's going to be fun. We'll see if that actually works out. The Germans, of course, had to respond by bringing their aircraft here, which took a little pressure off France, because as we know, Germany's going whole hog west. And we're also not going to be doing the attacking Holland or Denmark. Oh, and in my game, Switzerland is always off the table. We never allow Switzerland to be attacked, because both gameplay and historically we find that it's it kind of spoils everything. Switzerland's a very important piece of the history and of the game, because without that, the Germans could fight a delaying action here and then send troops south, take Rome on about turn 5 without any trouble whatsoever, and that would really change the gameplay. So we played it with that, that you could take Switzerland the first few times, and that's exactly what the German player did, and there was really no stopping, because turn 1 you're here, turn 2, turn 3, by turn 4 or 5 you're in Rome. Yeah, so the French just brought stuff up to the front. Not quite the miracle at the Marne, but doing everything they can there. As you can see, the German High Seas Fleet went in and thumped the British. All the mines missed, but the Germans did lose 2 subs and got their battleship dented in the process. But the Canadians came over, and the French are lending a little bit of support here. Not sure if it'll be enough, though. I think the Germans will probably take a poke at this. Yeah, we'll see. Now, the French do have a cruiser and a battleship here in 14 that can come up and mop up any problems, so we'll see what we see. That's pretty much it. The Americans just saved their money this round. No sense buying stuff right now, and that's pretty much it. So the Ottoman, as we know, they take Bulgaria, but yeah, this is going to be interesting. Knowing Italy's not in for another round, we'll see. All right, so round 2 will be coming up right after this. All right, round 3 is about to start, but what we have to do is find out, will Italy be in the war? Here we go. They need a 4, 5, or 6. No, they'll have one more round where they are not in the war, so they only collect $7. All right, round 3 saw some interesting things. Here, the British attacked out of Arabia into Mesopotamia, had some success, killed 3 units, lost 3 of theirs, but it forced the Ottomans to move east into Mesopotamia with some strength in order to free the $3 for Mesopotamia. It also had another effect, though. As you know, if you are embroiled in a conflict, you cannot leave a territory, except to go to one that you own, where your units are. And Sevastopol is wide open here, and usually the Turks grab that, but the British were able to stop them from grabbing that. It was kind of a desperation move. I didn't think they'd actually kill 3 Turkish things, but they did. So bully for them. Over here they decided, the British did, that retreating is probably the better part of valor at this point. So the Turks came down, secured that against further aggression for the time being. They pulled out of Bulgaria, no sense staying there. I'm not sure if I showed this last round, but the Russians came down and killed the 2 Turkish cruisers and just have one guy left there, so he's just going to sit there, I guess, for a while. Down in Africa, some good news for the British. They were able to destroy the German artillery-infantry combo that was in South Africa and didn't lose anything doing it, so they're sitting pretty now. The French came in and liberated Nigeria for them, and will likely continue on as time goes on. The Germans are down to 3 infantry in Africa, so it's probably curtains for them in the next couple of rounds. Up here on the Eastern Front, some good news for the Triple Entente. The Russians, their idea to build a fighter really paid off, because they came out here, shot down the Austrian fighter, and then 17 Russian artillery were able to get 15 hits, to say nothing of all the hits the infantry got. So 15 out of 17 on 4s. It's pretty impressive, and they were able to do quite a bit of damage, obviously, to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austro-Hungary has some stuff coming back, but hurting for certain. And there's too much stuff here for the Germans to actually attack as well. And Germany did not want to move east this early. They wanted everything going west. But alas, yeah. I'm pretty sure I heard a quote sometime that said I would have won the war if I didn't have those allies, or except for the Allies, I would have won the war. So that's kind of how Germany's feeling right now. Austria-Hungary is kind of getting trounced and are going to need to be saved. But we'll see what happens with them on turn 3 here. They've got some options open to them. As you can see, the Germans do their little runabout and scoop things up. Again, the Russian Revolution rule is not in play, so that will not have any effect. Over here, on the Italian front, well, they're just piling up, but they're having to move some stuff over to the west because the Germans have had some very good success here in Central Europe, here in France, and they have they've got a lot of stuff coming. So yeah, they're going to need some help. So the Italians are realizing that. They still outnumber the Austro-Hungarians here 2-1, so they should be okay for the time being. Built a fighter this time, because with the good success the Russians had, that will force Austria-Hungary to build another fighter or 2, because they need one on each front as soon as the Italians get in the war. Up here, we have the German fleet has been destroyed, but they got destroyed over here. They came in, they sank the French and British combined fleet, So the French came up from 14 and finished off the Germans, and then the British were able to build 5 transports on their turn, and that should bring 10 units per turn over to the battle on the mainland. Hoping so. But that might be sacrificing India, because India only got to build 1 guy this round. Persia kind of held, or didn't hold, but Persia is pretty much it for the strength for the British. And the Ottomans have quite a bit of stuff coming. So, overall right now, Africa is pretty much a wash for the Central Powers. Turkey has no real natural enemies right now that can match their economy and their onboard pieces. As of right now, they've got about 40 pieces on the board, far surpassing what the British have. Russians are in no shape to go after the Turks, and so that's looking pretty good for the CP down here. We'll see if the British can turn that around somehow. Russia is under siege, but they have a very healthy military here. We'll see. The Austro-Hungarians may pull back. It'd probably be wise to pull back at this point. Leave 1 unit in there and pull back, reform, and hit them again with some reinforcements. But Austro-Hungarians didn't always do the right thing now, did they? Germany having some good success up here, as I mentioned. It's a steady crawl towards Paris. Not much facing them in Picardy, just 3 units. So the Germans can certainly push that aside, and then Paris is definitely under the gun. So there will be some choices needing to be made by the Parisians here in not too long a time. Of course, this is the last turn the U.S. is not in the war, so they're going to build a bunch of stuff with their $60 and get into the fight, Maverick.
Maverick Supersonic, I'll be there in 30 seconds.
All right, we'll let you know what happens on turn 3 right after this. All right, you might recognize the theme music. Hopefully it's loud enough. Anyway, it's the theme music to Home Alone, which I am right now. My wife's off at work, and you know my son is off in college and just about to start that up again this year. And so yeah, playing the game all alone at home. But it is a good game. Let's start down here in the Middle East. We have the Ottoman Turks just kind of massing up here to hopefully go take India at some point. But India here has bulked up. They retreated everything from Persia and built their 5 units here. A plane, 3 artillery, and a man. And they'll obviously get another 5 before they're under any duress. So India could hold, but if India falls, well, that could be an interesting moment in the life of the Ottoman Empire, because that's never happened in any of my games. But there's a lot of game to be played here, and the Turks may have to turn around. We'll tell you why in just a second. Over here in Africa, as was foretold, the Germans have grouped together here, just hoping against hope to hold on a little bit longer, but their empire is slowly being chipped away. The Turks did take Arabia, because why not? 1 guy. And it's unlikely the British are going to send over units here with this mess marching eastward. Up in Russia, the Russians gave themselves a little bit of breathing room. The Austro-Hungarians backed up into Galicia. The Romanian contingent moved into Sevastopol en masse. And then the Russians had to stay here and fight this lone Austro-Hungarian infantrymen. The rest of them scattered off into Moscow and bulked up there. As you can see, there's 21 infantry alone, to say nothing of approximately 15 artillery. And the Russians even figured they could spare some guys to come down here and perhaps help push Austria-Hungary back a little bit. But we'll see. Austria-Hungary is likely going to come into Ukraine again this round, but time will tell. Some good rolls by the Russians here. They sent 2 men and 1 artillery into each, and they were able to get rid of the the German infantry in both zones, only taking one hit. Austria-Hungary built a couple of fighters, and seems to be something that they really needed to do, because they're going to need it in Russia. That stack of Russian artillery is just wreaking havoc, and it's going to be a long time before anybody gets into it. You can see all the infantry protecting it. And they're going to need one here on this front, because the Italians built a fighter last round hoping to be in the war, but they were not in the war yet. But we're going to do their role right now. So now we're down to a 3, 4, 5, 6, and Italy will collect 14 this round, and they'll be in the war. So only a 1 or a 2 is a fail to get them in the war. Okay, so Italy is finally in the war. And here we are, the same round that the US is in the war. So now the Austro-Hungarians have a bit of a growing concern here. They do get to go first, so they can certainly bulk up and maybe even push in. There's not a lot of Italians there, but there's a good stack here. So now Italy's in. They'll collect another $7, and we'll get on with the war. As we see the Germans kind of coagulated up here in Poland, hoping to be able to just keep the Russians at bay. But the Russians might go for a little walk and head west. Go west, young man, right? Germans sent everything westward towards the French. The French had an amazing round of rolling in Lorraine. They were able to get rid of the German contingent, and they took a bunch of hits themselves, but they actually dealt out more damage. The 2 fighters really helped out. And if you can hear, there's some sort of a propeller plane behind me. Or possibly a helicopter, but hey, that's a propeller, just sideways. The Germans brought down a good bunch into Picardy, but they also got attacked by the British. The French decided to stay at home. They built 8 men last round and 8 men the round before, and they've decided just to bulk up Paris and not go out piecemeal. Probably a good idea, although the Lorraine battle was very encouraging. It made headlines back in Gay Paris there. But the British decided they had to tie down the German forces, so they landed 10 units in Picardy. They lost 3 to the artillery out of 4 shots, 3 hit, and then they lost another 5 in the battle. And they were only able to, I think they killed 3 German infantry, maybe 4, but I think 3 with their 7 units, which is not too bad actually, considering most of them were infantry. But they've got more lined up, ready to come across next round. Alright, so that's kind of how the Western Front looks. All is not quiet. It's pretty loud over there. The French sent the transport over to pick up the guys in Portugal. Also, the Germans built a sub. Wanted to try to force the British to build some stuff, but the French brought some stuff over, so we'll see if the Germans build more subs and maybe try to get into this, because having 10 British troops landing each round could really cut into their dreams of conquest here in Europe. Of course, America is now in the war.
April 6, 1917, and the United States took up arms to join the Allies.
So, as I tend to do, I save all the... Oh, here's my cat, bringing in Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski!
Yeah, sure, step aside, kid, we're in a...
What? Hey. Oh, you poor thing. I can't hear the war. Okay. Yes, I know. I'll play with you in a bit. So, what was I talking about? Oh, right, America. So what I do is I hang on to their money, so I have $60 at the end of round 3 or at the beginning of round 3 to spend. And so then you just buy 6 transports and 4 artillery. And you save $8, and now you've got enough for 6 fully loaded transports to move. So if you've ever wondered, I've seen a lot of people kind of struggle, each round spending their $20, trying to spend money and whatnot. Just hang on to it and go. All right. Well, we will head out here. Turn 4 coming up. Everybody's in the war. Italy, America, and of course all your favorites. You're on round 4. Gonna keep slugging it out. Yes, Star Wars. Imagine one AT-AT on a World War II battlefield. World War I battlefield. I think I just invented a movie. Okay, somebody give me like 40 million bucks. We'll shoot it. We'll star Chris Pratt and Ryan Reynolds as the plucky, I don't know, let's make them Frenchmen. And here comes the mean German AT-AT. Because, hey, let's face it, all the Imperial guys dressed in the German suits anyway, right? All the gray and the black and everything. I mean, World War II-ish, but that's okay. World War I, AT-AT coming across the field. What are you going to do? Okay, so here we are. Round 4 is over, headed into round 5. Not much going on here. The British did send 2 guys out just to see if they could kill the one Turk that was in Persia. And they were able to do so and did not sustain a hit. So, that was $2. And the Ottoman decided, you know what? You can have Persia for $2. We're not going to stick our necks out because the British do have a decent force here. They have 11 artillery and 6 infantry. So, they figured, we're not going to come in there. And again, half of these guys were back here. So, they couldn't have had everybody in Persia anyway. So, instead of dying piecemeal, they decided to bulk up first. We'll see if that works for them. In Africa, the Germans are trying to escape, but 9! They are now trapped. They don't have much going for them now. They could do a kind of a suicide run there, or come back and maybe attack, or just go to British East Africa and scoop another buck. But now it looks like they will be close to dead here at the end of round 5. Up here, the British got a little cheeky. Smyrna was empty, so they hopped in there for an easy 2. The Ottomans sent out the 4 units they had at home, minus the fighter, because they didn't want to tie down a fighter in Smyrna. And all 4 guys missed, and the British missed, so there you go. Not exactly Gallipoli. The Ottoman built a tank, so why not? Up here, the Russians had an amazing attack versus the Austro-Hungarians. Just 1 hit shy. They got 6 out of 7 needed hits. And there is the end result. They lost only 3 guys themselves. So it looks like Sevastopol is going to be liberated. And you can see behind the Austro-Hungarians, there's all this empty space. Now, why does this happen every single game when I play? When I play a solo game, the Austro-Hungarians come in. They've got, 30 to 40 units. They come in, and the Russians just absolutely obliterate them every time. There's never been a game I've played in my recollection where, the Ottomans just get great dice and the Russians get lousy dice. It just hasn't happened. And so, yeah, the Austro-Hungarians are in a bad way here. And here we have the Ukraine. It's probably going to be liberated this round. I think the Austro-Hungarians will probably back off and maybe bring up some of their stuff. They built a tank as well and some men. Moscow is now under the gun though, so I figured we got to get these Germans moving. So we did. Brought them into Livonia, and got a good amount of guys there. About 21, 22 guys and 8 artillery plus a fighter. So if they can have some success, punch, because they're definitely going to be attacking Moscow this round. Of course, most of this Russian stuff will head back. So maybe the Austro-Hungarians will stick around and sacrifice these guys so that not all of the Russians go back, but we'll see. Over here, we have the Germans having to come east. Didn't want to do it, but did not like how things were going here, how the Russians, although their economy was taking a bit of a beating, last couple rounds they've only been collecting $19, or not 19, pardon me, $16, because they've typically had Poland, Ukraine, and Sevastopol in enemy hands for the past hour and a half, so having some troubles, but they're still holding on and just did not get hit much by the Austro-Hungarians. So the Germans have to send these beauties east, unfortunately. But behind them, as you can see, there is a stack of armor that is going to be headed somewhere. We'll see where. The Germans had some really bad luck on the Western Front. They are almost out of Picardy. They still have some guys left in Lorraine, and they'll likely take care of the last 3 French units here and kill a couple French planes while they're doing it. But the British now are landing in force each round, and the Germans just simply can't fight both of these guys right now. They got to take care of Russia first, and then they'll have a chance, because they do have a good, strong economy still. They're not hurting too badly down here. Italy, well, we're finally in the war. Austria-Hungary did not attack, of course, because it didn't have enough gumption to do that. And so the Italians have everything up on the front. So there's good and bad. Italy is able to bulk up pretty nicely before they're in the war. The bad news is it's all at the front. So if Austria-Hungary had more stuff on the front, they could almost wipe out the Italians, and there's not going to be much left in Rome. Italians built a tank because why the heck not? You're going to build one eventually. Might as well build it now when you got some cash. The Italians also helped reinforce down here in Africa because these pesky Germans and then the Ottoman here. So America did something that I rarely do. I won't say never do, but rarely do, and that is just go after Spanish Morocco for a free buck. And as we call it free, but it cost a $3 soldier, so yeah, not really sure if that's free. And now they only have 11 units to land wherever they decide to go. So it's likely going to be Italy, possibly a landing in Turkey. So we'll let you know what happens with that. And they built 3 men and a tank and a couple of transports. But now America's down to the trickle, right? So 21 bucks a round now coming in. So I half thought of going after Spain, but that would probably just be incredibly stupid. So this is only a little stupid. You can hear the Jaws theme music, yeah, pretty much. So the British did force a landing at Picardy. Only got 3 hits out of their 8 guys that landed, and we put 1 guy in Belgium with the 5th transport just to cause a little bit of grief. And so we didn't dislodge the Germans wholly, so the French will have to fight them. This French contingent will be gone likely on their turn, so they'll just have one job and they won't be able to come after these guys. So Germany does have a little bit of hope here, as the way the movement rules are. Germany did not return to the sea on this round. They really wanted to build a stack of tanks. Yes, dramatic. We'll see what happens with that dramatic music on round 5. What will happen? All right, round 5 is over, and some of the places were pretty static, not an awful lot of stuff going on, such as the Middle East. Persia kind of traded hands here, and that's about it there. Of course, the lone British man stayed in Smyrna in order to tie down some troops, but he died and didn't kill anybody on the way out. Those pesky Germans just won't die. Moved over to British East Africa. Now they are a bit trapped, but they can certainly come to Somaliland and hole up there. The hole in the wall gang. And then not much going on in Egypt. America is finally in the war. Have come in and took Albania and just lost a couple of guys doing it. Not too bad, I guess. Up here, the Italians were able to kick out the Austro-Hungarians out of Venice. Austro-Hungary had a disastrous attack and an even worse defense. So they're out. They have a little bit to come back with here, including a tank. And they built a small stack of tanks here. But that's, yeah, that may not have been a good purchase now that the Americans are here and they're going to come and gobble up all this stuff. So the Ottoman are going to have to turn around a little bit. We'll see. The Russians were able to free up most of their territory here on their turn, and then the Germans came along and, of course, did that. You'll see, though, there's no Germans in Moscow, because the number of Germans that I had in Livonia would have just simply been crushed in Moscow. They might be down to like 1 man and 3 or 4 artillery, and then on this round they'd all be dead. So, decided to kind of match them up with the troops coming east from Germany, and have pretty much an impenetrable wall there now. So yeah, but the other stuff is headed west. The Germans were able to secure Lorraine, but in Belgium, but they're probably going to have to do a tactical withdrawal here and match up with their tanks coming out. of Germany, because the French and the British landed 10 troops unopposed here in Picardy. Not much on the heels of that, though. I forgot to mention down here, the British have gone long in tanks. They built 4 tanks and a man this round, or 4 tanks and a plane, pardon me. Spent $30 in India to try to match what the Ottoman are throwing at them. But now that the Americans are in here, and they don't bring a ton to the fight, right? Like it's really not a huge amount of stuff coming in every round. You know, $20 to $25 worth of stuff. Certainly, it's the lowest of all the incomes except for Italy, and sometimes the Ottoman get up there though sometimes. But it's just another shot that the Central Powers have to absorb, and I think that's why the Central Powers lose, right? It's basically 5 on 3, and when you stack the economies, as the Entente have a bit of an advantage, but they also get to take shots every now and again that the CP are unable to answer. You know, for instance, you know, the British and the French both attack here. Here we have Italy and America both attacking here. We do have British and sometimes Russia attacking the Ottoman. So, you know, everybody's got 2 enemies coming at them all the time. So it's tough to be a Central Powers. I kind of got a gut feeling here that this game is over now.
Game over, man. It's game over.
I think the Central Powers have... I think down here was a real debacle for Austria-Hungary. I think if they would have rolled even, you know, low luck, right? Just roll what you're supposed to, be a lot better off. But the Russians, I mean, good grief, the Russians have so much stuff sitting here. They have no worries. Now the Germans can certainly come forward, but then the Russians can hold up here, and all this German stuff should really be going towards Paris right now, and that's why there's this big logjam here. So, but we'll see. Turn 6 will certainly let us know if we should continue or if this one looks pretty much a done deal. Austria-Hungary is looking pretty anemic, and Italy's healthy, and when Italy's healthy, that's usually means Central Powers is having a bad time. So. Alright, we'll let you know what round 6 brings right after this. Alright, here we are. Turn 7 is about to begin. And what a difference a turn makes. Well, we're just going to walk you through it here. Britain remained in India because there was a big Turkish army there which moved into Sevastopol. Yes, they have... about 25 units there, including a plane, so it's nothing to sneeze at. So the British might move out this turn, but we'll see. They do have a lot of units, but this is definitely an attacking force because they have 9 tanks, so it's definitely meant for attack, not defense. But the Ottomans don't have any tanks in there, so they might get shredded a bit as well. Down here in Africa, of course, the Germans went and took the Italian Somaliland, and that's it. They're kind of bottled up, and we'll see if we'll even make a couple attacks here, because the last thing we want is for them to kill all these guys and then start trooping down there. So having them have $1 might not be the end of the world. Just leave them down there to rot. The Italians got a little cheeky and dropped a guy off in Smyrna for $2, because why not? And the Ottomans had brought a bunch of stuff back to Constantinople and took their last build from last round and put it in Bulgaria because the Russians had a very good round and took Romania as well as Galicia up in Austria-Hungary, causing all sorts of grief. So the Germans came down, snagged Ukraine for freebie, and brought everybody up into Belarus. Did send a couple guys into Livonia to take that, but it's looking pretty interesting here around Moscow. Now Russia does go first. Now for Russia, they have 2 fighters, so if they can defeat the 1 German fighter, all those artillery are going to do some nasty bit of business to the Germans. But if the German fighter remains, that could be a problem for Moscow. But hey, that's why we roll the dice. Austria-Hungary could not dislodge the Americans from Albania, but took them down to 2 units. and lost a few themselves, but definitely will be taking that over this round. Trieste is in their hands, but they don't have an awful lot here. They got Tiroli as well. Yeah, we got the Olympics going now. There you go. Too bad Greece is neutral, eh? So here we go. The Italians are looking pretty strong, and really don't have any natural threats happening to them right now. So them staying out of the war until round 4 maybe served them well. But again, Austria-Hungary, I don't want to flog a dead horse, but boy, the couple of rounds where they just got absolutely destroyed down here kind of set the tone for them. So they'll have to go east and west here in order to reclaim some IPCs, and the Russians are obviously going to be able to punch into Budapest if they want to go that way. They may want to come south and lend the Entente a bit of a hand coming this way. But with the big Ottoman army here, these Russians better not stick their necks out too far. They might find themselves in a Turkish sandwich, which doesn't sound fun by any stretch of the imagination. Over on the Western Front, the Germans pulled back in order to get their forces together into some big unstoppable force, which was probably a good idea. The British and the French just have too much stuff here. Not a ton of offensive punch, to be honest, but it would certainly put a big dent into this and tie them up as well. So Germans decided to retreat and then punch forward given the opportunity, which they may take this round, go destroy all the British units in Belgium. They might not destroy them all, but they'd certainly take a big chunk out of them. And the British don't have a lot coming back on because the Ottomans have been pushing hard in India, or towards India. The French have been building nothing but men here, figuring that they'll just bulk up their defense. And if they can just keep the Germans out of France proper, well, that's going to be a win for them. Especially with Italy doing as well as they're doing. If they can just keep Germany out, that'll be a win. But we're going to keep slugging forward. The British were able to release 3 transports because they don't have enough guys at home to transport. So they're going to go get the 5 Canadian infantry and 1 artillery and get them in the fight. The Americans have a bit of a gap here. They have nobody here. So they're going to be sending some guys over shortly. Well, that was round 6. Round 7 about to happen. Couple of interesting points is the Ottomans could go north and really threaten Moscow long before Constantinople is under threat by this British group here. So I think I might do that just to really put the screws to Russia, and then they have to choose. Are they going to go to Belarus, or are they going to come south? Who are they going to deal with? Because I don't know if they got enough to deal with both on the upcoming next 2 turns. See what they decide to do right after this. Alright, turn 8 is about to happen, and again, what a difference a turn can make. We'll start down here. Those pesky Germans are no more. The British, possibly to their folly, took a couple of guys down from Egypt, but as I did the math here, there's a good chance that the Ottomans would contest it, but would likely lose it on the next round. So, and they need some help, and I'll tell you why here. Although things are looking kind of good for them in and about. The British stayed put again, but this time they can go out because the big Ottoman army is no more. Well, it's no more there. It's up here, headed towards Moscow. And at the gates of Moscow, a cataclysmic battle occurred. And you can see that they're down to 1 infantry each. So some artillery died on both sides, and all but 1 infantry. So that was a pretty bloody mess. Stalemate up here. 2 Russian infantry and an artillery could not dislodge the single. Well, actually, there could have been an artillery in there for Germany too. I think they each got a hit, but down here, it's just a mess. And over here, the Russians were actually able to take $9 out of Galicia and Budapest here, out of Austria-Hungary. The Turks coming up to Romania, because it's actually shorter to go from there to there to there than it is to come through their own territory. What can I tell you? Over here, the Americans landed. Their initial thrust had been parried by the Austro-Hungarians, who took the territory back at the start of the round. The Americans landed and dispatched just a single unit, though, but didn't lose any, even with the artillery bombardment. But the Italians took Trieste with some force. This is a problem. They got 8 artillery, and they got 7 guys. So it's that's pretty nasty. I think Austria-Hungary might be in a bit of trouble here. They're going to have to punch out, definitely. Not a lot of force coming behind here, right? Like, it's pretty thin, but yeah, that's a big problem. So they're surrounded. They've lost 13 of their home territory victory or IPC points. That's not good. So yeah, that's half of what they make. So they got to take a bunch of that back. There were Germans in the north here, punched into Belgium, hoping to wipe out the British, and got them down to 2 units, but that was it. The French came in and did a bunch of destruction as well, but the Germans actually gave as good as they got in that battle. So the French kind of took it on the chin, and there's some decent German reinforcements right on the way here. So I think Belgium will be German at the end of this round. And the French don't have a ton of stuff. I guess, yeah, they got about 25, 30 units back here, but and it's going to be a couple rounds before the Germans can be at the gates. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes for them. These guys here are in Hanover, of course. They haven't made it too far yet. Up here, the German subs, the 3 subs came in, avoided all the mines, took 3 shots and missed. And got hit once back, and then on the French turn, the French attacked the 2 subs, killed one, and took a hit on the battleship. The British are bringing across the rest of the Canadians. The Americans are tooled up for a big punch in a couple of rounds. Smaller punch came over this round, but there is a fighter and a tank in there. Thought I'd give them a little bit of thing to play with there that's just not infantry and artillery. Well, that is where things stand right now. The Ottoman are healthy, but the British are definitely coming this turn. And unless, well, put it this way. If Moscow doesn't fall this round, like utterly fall, I think we're going to call this Entente victory. We'll see how Austria-Hungary does here. They've got big problems. They have to take Galicia and Budapest back. There's no 2 ways about it. But Trieste might be a problem. Don't think they're going to take that back this round. But who knows? We'll see. The dice sometimes sing a happy song. We'll let you know right away. Alright, headed towards 9, but 9 will likely be the last turn. We'll show you why. Down here, this behemoth British army is on the move, and they are going to crush everything in their path. And they got a lot of hit points too. And in attack, they probably won't ever get hurt. In defense, they will, but in attack, they will not get hurt, as they have 9 tanks absorbing hits. So yeah, they're a monster. Plus, there's 2 planes there. Africa's all sewn up, as you know. The Ottoman came down here. A little bit of a feint, I think, possibly. I don't know. But I thought I might take a poke at Egypt here. But I think that's all kind of fighting over scraps. The Americans landed in Albania, were able to defeat the Austro-Hungarians. The Italians were able to take Trieste. Austria-Hungary was unable to take Galicia or Budapest. Budapest was fought over, and the Russians ended up actually going to Galicia with their units, and the Germans just walked in and took Budapest as a freebie. The Italians were able to kick out the Austro-Hungarians from here. Austria-Hungary only has, 9 units on the board, 9 land units. And yes, they do get to build first, but they collected a whopping 13 IPCs last round. So that's not going to bode well for them. It's highly unlikely that the Central Powers are going to be able to pull out a victory here. The German attack on Moscow utterly failed. I mean, they killed some stuff, but they just didn't have enough, and they also lost everything in the round, so Moscow was not taken. And then the Ottomans came in, and they lost all their men and 1 artillery. They killed all the Russian infantry, but there are still 20 Russian artillery with 2 fighters, so they're defending at 4 and attacking at 4. They're shooting at 4, and there's no other fighters around, so this stuff's going to die on the Russian turn, and then there is nothing that's going to be bothering the Russians as they head out and just tend to business. Who knows, if the Russians get lucky here, they might take Galicia. So Austro-Hungarians, if they send too much stuff there, they're only building 13 bucks worth, right? So that's like 3 men and a artillery to spend it all, right? And that's all they're gonna have left. Germany utterly dispatched with great prejudice the French-British army there, and took no hits. Well, they took 7 hits, but they have, I think, 8 tanks there, 7 or 8 tanks. So they took no hits. So that was a little disheartening for the Entente. But as you can see, they have loads and loads and loads of stuff over here ready for this. And they're ready to strike once the tanks are on the defense. And that's kind of the problem with tanks, right? They attack well, but they don't defend worth a darn, and you can just drop a whole bunch of stuff there and wipe them out. As I look here, I forgot to actually put on England's build. So England built 10 men for London. And they landed, of course, back here in Brest, so that when the Germans come forward, they'll have a shot at them in Picardy. And of course, if they don't, if they come the other way, well, they just go into Paris next round. So it's we're really going to call this an Entente victory. Central Powers really got their butts handed to them this time. Give me your thoughts on Italy. Should they just come in automatically at the second round? That's how I have been playing it, but should we do the die roll and increase it each round so they come in, or should it be, they automatically come in on round 3? Let me know what you think about that. I like spicing up the game a little bit.
Hello, Chief.
Afternoon, Homer. Care for some chili? I've added an extra ingredient just for you. The merciless peppers of Quetzalcoatl. Grown deep in the jungle primeval by the inmates of a Guatemalan insane asylum.
Wiggy, my chili's getting cold.
Right, adding a little bit of stuff here and there, but I don't want to break it. And Central Powers have enough trouble. I thought that this would give them a little bit of an edge, in that Italy's only getting $7 per round at the beginning, and they can't attack, and so the Austro-Hungarians can send everything, east and south, without worrying about it. And they know a whole turn before whether or not Italy's coming, so they can move their build westward if they need to. Well, folks, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna clean this up, and we're getting ready for school now, so not too many more videos going to be coming out in the next little while. We just so busy trying to get everything ready as teachers. We have to teach online and in class, sometimes at the same time. The students don't have to come in. They can just learn from home, so I have to somehow get 5 months worth of curriculum onto the computer in such a way that they can learn it all in 2 months, because we've gone to a quarterly system now. So yeah, this is going to be fun. And I am looking forward to the challenge, and I'm definitely going to have a new skill set of putting things on the computer, but this is definitely going to be a challenge for all of us. But that's pretty much it from here, from the Hilltop Pillbox. This is a pretty daunting stack, but it's still 3 turns away minimum from hitting Paris. If they want to include these 11 infantry, which they'd want to. And by then, the French, who are pulling in $31 a round right now, every round, are building 10 men in Paris, 10 men in Paris, and 10 men in Paris, right? So the Germans just won't have enough stuff to break through. So if you dispute that, if you figure, nope, I should have played this to the bitter end, you let me know. But that's kind of how we see it here at the Hilltop. So Moscow is safe and sound. That stuff's all going to die. Austria-Hungary is under the gun. The British are going to be just marching right through Turkey because they can. The Turks have nowhere to go. They're pretty bottled up here. Might be able to dispute Egypt, but then all their troops are out of position to save their capital. And they'll just watch their economy drop as the Sevastopol gets taken. The Americans will take Serbia. Bulgaria will fall shortly after. It's looking pretty bad. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Take care. Hug your loved ones. Thank your friends for playing with them, and keep building the Axis and Allies and historical board gaming communities. And till next time, keep your stick on the ice. No. That's Red Green, if you ever watch Red Green. Alright, what you got here is you got yourself some duct tape. It's Handyman's secret weapon. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but I got a sore throat right now, so I can't do the voice. I used to do the voice as an MC at weddings. And yeah, a lot of fun. But I guess I should say goodbye now. Alright, take care, folks. And as we say here at the Hilltop, may the dice be with you.